My husband called my business a hobby and said I'd be bored in my old age. Then he emptied our joint account and tried to take half of everything I built. But here's what he didn't expect. I wasn't just building a business. I was building an escape plan. Hey loves, welcome back to my channel. Please make sure to like, comment, and subscribe because this one's personal. The text arrived while helping customers at my boutique. I'm leaving you and moving to Miami with my 20-year-old girlfriend. I've already emptied our joint account. Haha. My hands didn't shake as I read it. My voice didn't waver as I helped a customer pick out a scarf. The only sign that my partner of 12 years had just nuked our marriage via text was a slight tightening around my eyes. I waited until the customer left, purchase wrapped in our signature silver paper, before typing a response. Good luck. I had just received the most callous goodbye in history. But while my partner was probably gloating over this grand exit, imagining me in tears over the betrayal, I was calmly locking up the boutique for the day. The signs had been there for months. The late nights at work that never matched the paid deposits, the sudden password changes on the phone, the way the gym suddenly became a daily ritual, the new clothes, the effort to recapture youth. 3 months ago, I found a receipt for dinner for two at an expensive restaurant on a night I'd been told there was work to catch up on. That same evening, I opened a separate bank account at a different bank. A week later, when there was a suggestion to combine all accounts to simplify things, I agreed cheerfully, while moving my personal savings to the new account. The joint account that had just been emptied, it contained exactly enough to keep suspicion at bay, 2 months' worth of regular deposits. The rest was safely tucked away, along with detailed records of every suspicious transaction from the past year. Another buzz. Don't bother begging. She and I leave tomorrow. I'll send for my things later. She, the new receptionist. I'd met her at the company Christmas party, watched her laugh too loud at jokes, noticed how she touched his arm when she thought no one was looking. She was young enough to be his daughter, naive enough to think she was special. I didn't respond to the text. Instead, I called the lawyer I'd consulted 2 months ago after noticing hotel charges on the credit card statement. It's time, I said simply. He just made his move. The papers are ready, came the reply. I'll file them first thing tomorrow. Do you want him served in Miami? No rush. Let him think his one first. Another message. I know this must be hard for you. You're not getting any younger, after all. At least you have your little shop to keep you busy. My little shop. The successful boutique I built from scratch. The one that generated more income than a middle management job. The one whose profits I'd carefully kept separate from our joint finances. I smiled, thinking of the certified letters that would greet them in Miami. Let them enjoy their moment of triumph. I spent the evening in our house. My house, actually, since I'd inherited it from my grandmother and kept it in my name despite persistent suggestions to add another name to the deed. Another lucky instinct that paid off. While organizing the paperwork for my lawyer, I found our wedding album. My partner looked so different back then, before the midlife crisis turned that person into a caricature. These days, the clothes were too tight for a softening middle, the slang too forced coming from someone pushing 45, the attempts to connect with 20-somethings almost painful to witness. More messages came, each more condescending than the last. I've been planning this for months. She understands me in ways you never could. You'll be fine, maybe you'll find someone your own age. I already told my family. They agree we grew apart. It's nobody's fault, really. I screenshot each message, adding them to my evidence folder. Let that person dig their own hole. My lawyer would love the casual admission of premeditation, the gleeful declaration of draining the account. The last message caught my attention. By the way, I used the joint card to book our flights and hotel. Consider it my parting gift. LOL. Perfect. I called the credit card company. Mrs. Harrison speaking. I need to report fraudulent charges and cancel a card immediately. Of course. Can you identify the charges? 2 first-class tickets to Miami booked today. Hotel charges at the Royal Palm. And I'll need to remove someone as an authorized user. Do you have documentation? Yes. Text messages admitting use of our joint card for travel with a girlfriend, after emptying our bank account. The representative's professional tone couldn't quite hide her satisfaction as she cancelled the charges. They would arrive at the airport to find their tickets invalidated. Their hotel reservation cancelled. Another message. Don't worry about the house. I'll let you stay there until you find something smaller. I actually laughed out loud. Did this person really think there was any claim to my grandmother's house? Had the ego grown so large that the name on the deed had been forgotten? Another buzz. I know the shop means a lot to you. We can work out a fair payment for your half. My half. Of my business. The one I built, funded, and grew while listening to complaints about my hobby. I poured a glass of wine, the good stuff I'd been saving for a special occasion. This qualified. Tomorrow, someone would learn a few hard truths about property law and separate assets. But tonight, I would enjoy the quiet and plan my next chapter. The next morning brought a flurry of angry texts. What the heck did you do to our credit card? The airline won't honor our tickets. The hotel cancelled our reservation. Answer me. I silenced my phone and headed to my boutique. Fridays were always busy, and I had a new shipment of designer handbags to unpack. Life goes on, even when your spouse runs off with someone young enough to be their daughter. Around noon, the phone rang. It was the mother-in-law. Dear, we heard everything. We were told how controlling you've been. That you drove them away. That you're being vindictive now and interfering with their travel plans. I put the phone on speaker while arranging a window display. Did they mention emptying our joint account and charging flights and a hotel for a romantic getaway on our card? Silence. Well, they said you left them no choice. That you'd been cold and distant. I have the texts, I said. Would you like me to read the one where they bragged about taking our money, or the one where they mocked my age? Another pause. They did seem a bit cruel. I told him that text message was inappropriate. I appreciated the call, but I thought it was best to end the conversation. My lawyer had advised minimal contact with him and his family during the proceedings. By late afternoon, his sister was spreading family gossip through mutual friends. Apparently, he and the new girlfriend were stuck at a budget motel near the airport, their Miami dreams temporarily derailed. He had tried using personal credit cards, but those had been maxed out for months, another red flag I'd noticed. My lawyer called with an update. The emergency hearing was scheduled for Monday. Given his admission of emptying the joint account and the documented credit card fraud, we were in a strong position to freeze all remaining assets. Has he been served yet? I asked. Not yet, but he'll get the papers at his new motel address. Speaking of which, his girlfriend's social media is providing excellent evidence. She's been posting about their adventure all day, including some choice comments about you. I smiled, thinking of my own documentation, a year's worth of suspicious charges, hotel receipts, text messages that proved premeditation. He had been so focused on a grand escape that he never considered I might be watching, waiting, preparing. My phone buzzed with another text. You think you're so smart, but I made copies of all the boutique's financial records. Half that business is mine. I forwarded the text to my lawyer, adding it to the growing file of his mistakes. Let him learn the hard way about separate assets and business ownership. Sometimes the best revenge is simply being prepared. The emergency hearing on Monday was everything I could have hoped for. He showed up in a trendy, ill-fitting wardrobe, designer jeans too tight for his age, a blazer that screamed midlife crisis. She waited outside, her youth painfully obvious under the harsh courthouse lighting. My lawyer presented the evidence methodically, his gleeful text about emptying our account, the credit card fraud, the documented history of hidden expenses, each piece carefully collected over months of quiet observation. Your Honor, his hastily hired lawyer began. My client admits to some rash decisions, but her actions have been vindictive and calculating. My client protected her separate assets and maintained detailed records of her husband's suspicious behavior. That's not vindictive, that's smart business, my lawyer countered. The judge reviewed the documentation, the separate property deed to the house, the boutique's incorporation papers in my name only, the careful separation of business and personal finances he always complained about. He was addressed directly. You admitted via text message to deliberately emptying a joint account and using shared credit cards to fund a trip with your girlfriend. Do you deny this? He shifted uncomfortably. I was just trying to make a clean break. By committing financial fraud, the judge raised an eyebrow. And now you're claiming rights to property that documentation shows is clearly separate from marital assets. The business grew during the marriage, his lawyer tried again. It was established before the marriage, mine interrupted. And my client maintained strict separation of business and personal finances throughout. We have documentation of every penny invested and earned. I watched his face as reality sank in. He thought it would be easy, empty our accounts, run off with the girlfriend, maybe claim half my business in the divorce. He never understood why I insisted on keeping things separate. He'd mocked my careful bookkeeping as obsessive. The court finds sufficient evidence of financial misconduct, the judge announced. All shared assets are frozen pending final dissolution. He is ordered to return any funds removed from joint accounts within 24 hours. But that money's gone, he protested. We spent it on. Then I suggest you find a way to replace it, the judge cut him off. And the court takes a very dim view of using shared credit cards to fund adventures with a paramour. Outside the courthouse, I heard her asking him about their Miami plans. His response was lost in the sound of my heels clicking confidently across the marble floor, heading back to the business he never understood or respected. The next few weeks brought a string of increasingly desperate moves from him. He tried claiming the boutique had been his idea. He remembered investing money in its early days. He even suggested he'd been my business partner all along, claims quickly disproven by my meticulous records. He's getting desperate, my lawyer observed. Her social media shows they are staying at her studio apartment now. Apparently, living on a receptionist's salary isn't quite the glamorous escape he imagined. His family started reaching out, their tone markedly different from their initial accusations. We had no idea, his sister admitted. He told us you'd been cold, controlling, that he needed to escape. But then we saw the texts, the way he bragged about taking your money. That's not the brother I thought I knew. His mother called again, this time in tears. The things he said about your age, about replacing you with someone younger. I raised him better than that. I thought I did, anyway. I let their calls go to voicemail. Their support might have meant something weeks ago. Now it felt like rats deserting a sinking ship. The boutique thrived, ironically boosted by local gossip about my situation. Women started coming in specifically to show support, often leaving with far more than they planned to buy. My ex tried something similar. One customer confided while buying a designer handbag. Thought he'd take everything in the divorce. Men like that never expect us to be smarter than them. My phone still buzzed occasionally with texts from him, his tone swinging between anger and manipulation. You've ruined everything. I never meant to hurt you. You'll regret being so vindictive. Can't we work something out? That business would be nothing without my support. I forwarded each message to my lawyer without responding. Let him dig his hole deeper. Through the grapevine, I heard she was having second thoughts. Apparently, sharing a studio apartment with a middle-aged man who couldn't afford his own place wasn't the romantic adventure she imagined. The age gap that once seemed exciting during secret hotel meetings now felt different in the harsh light of reality. She posted about toxic relationships and learning from mistakes yesterday, my lawyer mentioned during an update call, and removed her relationship status this morning. I almost felt sorry for him. Almost. But then I remembered the ha-ha after telling me he'd emptied our account. The casual cruelty of his comments about my age. The way he assumed I'd be helpless without him. Instead of pity, I felt something else. Pride. Pride in my foresight. In my quiet strength. In my ability to protect myself while he underestimated me. The final divorce hearing painted a very different picture from his imagined triumph. Gone was the cocky attitude, replaced by barely concealed panic. She was noticeably absent. According to office gossip, she had moved on to a co-worker her own age. He had shown up in his old clothes. The designer wardrobe apparently returned to help repay the joint account he'd emptied. His lawyer looked tired, probably from trying to find loopholes in the documented separation of assets. Your Honor, his lawyer attempted one last time. Despite the separate property documentation, my client contributed to the growth of his wife's business through moral support. Moral support, her lawyer interrupted. Like these text messages belittling her business as a little shop, or these social media posts calling it her hobby. The judge had clearly seen enough. The final settlement reflected her careful planning. She kept the house, the business, and her separate assets. He got his personal possessions and his car, which was worth less than he owed on it. You've destroyed me, he hissed as they left the courthouse. I'll have to move back in with my parents. No, she replied calmly. You destroyed yourself. I just made sure you couldn't destroy me too. His mother was waiting outside, ready to drive him to her house, his new home at 45. The irony of the situation wasn't lost on anyone. The man who had mocked her age was now living in his childhood bedroom, while she continued running a successful business. You planned this all along, he accused. You knew this would happen. No, she said. I just paid attention. And unlike you, I understood the value of keeping good records. His mother stepped between them. That's enough, she said firmly. You've embarrassed yourself enough already. As they walked away, she heard his mother begin to scold him. Honestly, what were you thinking? A 20-year-old? Emptying bank accounts? Sending those horrible texts? She watched them disappear into the parking lot, feeling nothing but relief. He had thought he was writing the ending to their story with that cruel text. Instead, he had merely set her carefully laid plans in motion. Her phone buzzed, not with texts from him this time, but with notifications of new orders from the boutique's website. Life was moving forward, just not in the direction he had imagined. 6 months later, after the divorce was finalized, her boutique had expanded to a second location. The irony wasn't lost on her. While he struggled to rebuild his life, the little shop he'd dismissed was thriving. She had hired 3 new employees and launched an online store that was gaining traction nationally. News of his situation trickled back through mutual acquaintances. He had tried dating apps, but women his age weren't interested in a middle-aged man living with his parents. Younger women, having heard about his history through office gossip, steered clear. The former girlfriend had apparently warned her friends about him, sharing screenshots of his desperate attempts to win her back after she had left. His career had suffered too. The company's HR department launched an investigation into his relationship with a subordinate, resulting in a formal reprimand. The promotion he had expected went to someone else, someone who didn't have a history of inappropriate relationships with reception staff. He had tried to claim age discrimination. His sister came into the boutique one afternoon, her presence speaking volumes about how thoroughly he had alienated his own family. "I know we didn't support you at first," she admitted, running her fingers over a silk scarf. He played the victim so well. But watching how he handled everything, how he acted afterward, "I'm ashamed we ever believed him." Her lawyer continued updating her on his attempts to challenge the divorce settlement. Each petition was denied. His claim of unfair distribution was dismissed based on the evidence of his own actions. He actually tried arguing that his text about emptying the account was just a joke, her lawyer said, laughing. The judge asked if haha made theft less illegal. The boutique's success brought unexpected validation. Local business magazines wanted to feature her, not as a scorned wife, but as a savvy businesswoman who had protected her interests. Young entrepreneurs asked for advice about keeping business and personal finances separate. "The best protection is preparation," she told one young woman who reminded her of the former girlfriend. "And always trust your instincts." His mother still called occasionally, usually after he'd done something particularly self-destructive. He had tried online gambling for a quick fix, then gotten involved with a pyramid scheme that promised fast returns. Each attempt to recover his former lifestyle just dug him deeper. "I don't know where we went wrong with him," his mother sighed during one call. "His father and I offered to help him get back on his feet, if he'd just take responsibility. But he's still blaming everyone else." "You? Huh? His company? The judge?" She listened politely but stayed distant. That family's drama wasn't her problem anymore. Her life had moved on, filled with plans for a third boutique location and a possible expansion into luxury accessories. The only reminder of his impact was a framed screenshot hanging in her office, his final text before she blocked him. "Have fun with your little shop. At least it'll keep you busy in your old age." Below it sat her latest business award, proof that sometimes the best revenge is simply succeeding on your own terms. 1 year after the divorce, she hosted a grand opening for her third boutique. The event attracted local media, and the story they wanted wasn't about a failed marriage, it was about a successful businesswoman expanding her brand. His betrayal had become a mere footnote in her success story. During the event, the former girlfriend unexpectedly walked in. She looked younger than ever, or maybe it was just that she felt that much stronger. The other woman shifted uncomfortably, clutching her purse like a shield. "I owe you an apology," she said quietly. "I believed everything he told me, about how you were cold, controlling, how you didn't support his dreams. Then I watched him try the same manipulation tactics on me. When things got tough." She continued arranging a display of designer sunglasses. "Those weren't his dreams," she said calmly. "They were escapes. There's a difference." "I know that now," the woman replied. "He tried to move in when you froze the accounts. Thought my studio apartment would be temporary. After 2 weeks of him complaining about the size of my closet and suggesting I take out a loan for a bigger place. I understood what you meant." She laughed. "Let me guess, he had big plans, but no way to fund them." "Exactly. Everything was going to work out once his investments paid off. Once he got that promotion. Once his cryptocurrency definitely increased in value." The other woman shook her head. "I'm dating someone my own age now. We have student loans and a small apartment, but at least we're building something real." After she left, her assistant manager whispered, "Was that the girlfriend?" "No," she replied. "That was just another woman who learned the same lesson I did." I gestured to a young couple examining our designer handbags. "Let's talk about your idea for expanding our accessories line." The boutique had become more than just a business. It was a symbol of independence, of resilience, of the power of preparation. Young entrepreneurs often sought my advice, and I always emphasized the importance of protecting their assets. His mother called one last time, not to discuss him, but to thank me. "You taught our family an important lesson," she said, "about enabling bad behavior, about making excuses for cruelty. He's still living at home, still blaming everyone else for his problems. But we're not defending him anymore. That's your legacy to our family, showing us the difference between supporting someone and enabling them." I thought about that legacy as I reviewed plans for a fourth location. He had intended to diminish me, to trade me in for a younger model and take half of everything I'd built. Instead, he had inadvertently pushed me to become even stronger, more successful. My phone buzzed with a text from my lawyer. He filed another petition to revisit the settlement. The judge dismissed it immediately and ordered him to pay court costs. "Thought you'd enjoy that." I smiled, thinking of him in his childhood bedroom, still trying to rewrite an ending that had been determined the moment he underestimated me. Sometimes the best revenge isn't about getting even, it's about getting better. 2 years after that cruel text message, I received an invitation to speak at a women's business conference. The topic wasn't divorce or betrayal, it was about building and protecting a successful business. My story had evolved from a cautionary tale to an inspiration. During the Q&A session, a woman asked about keeping business and personal finances separate. "My husband says I'm being paranoid, that marriage means sharing everything." "My ex-husband said the same thing," I replied, "right up until he tried to claim half my business in our divorce. Trust your instincts. Protection isn't paranoia." The boutique chain had grown to 5 locations, each more successful than the last. The little shop he once mocked now employed 30 people and had been featured in several national magazines. Through mutual friends, I heard he had finally moved out of his parents' house, into a small apartment above a garage. He'd taken a lower-paying job after his former company downsized, eliminating his position during restructuring. His dating profile still listed him as young at heart, though his photo was clearly outdated. Ironically, the woman he left me for had become a regular customer at my original boutique location. She'd earned her business degree and started her own social media consulting company. "You inspired me," she told me once, showing how a woman can build something lasting instead of falling for empty promises. I kept his cruel text message framed in my office, not as a reminder of pain, but as proof of how far I'd come. Below it hung a sign that read, "Success is the best revenge." At the 5-year anniversary celebration of my original boutique, I stood addressing employees and loyal customers. The space had been transformed from a single little shop into the flagship store of a thriving business empire. His mother attended, though I hadn't sent her an invitation. She waited until the crowd thinned to approach me. "I saw him yesterday," she said, smoothing her designer dress, one she'd bought from my store. "He was talking about his glory days, about the life he could have had. He still doesn't understand. He didn't lose everything in the divorce. He threw it away." I thought about that text message. His casual cruelty. His assumption that I would crumble without him. How he'd expected me to beg, to break, to prove him right about my desperation. Instead, I'd built something stronger than before. Each new boutique location was a testament to what women could achieve when they stopped dimming their light for insecure men. The young saleswoman I'd hired last month, coincidentally also named after the former girlfriend, came over with a question about the new inventory system I'd implemented. As I explained the process, I caught a glimpse of my reflection in the store window. I saw what he had failed to see 5 years ago, not a woman getting older, but one getting wiser, stronger, and more successful. His cruel text message had been meant as an ending. Instead, it had been a beginning, not just for me, but for every person who heard my story and realized she deserved better than someone else's midlife crisis. Thanks for listening to my story. If you've ever had to rebuild after betrayal, drop a comment. Let's show the world what resilience looks like. Don't forget to like, share, and hit that subscribe button, because more stories are coming. And trust me, they only get better from here.